Well, small businesses, the backbone of the U.S. economy. Government data shows that these companies account for 2 of every 3 jobs that have been added in the past 25 years.
Yeah, it's important. And the most recent reading, I should say, on the small business community, it found that U.S. small business optimism ticked up to a 5-month high in December, largely reflecting less pessimism around sales, earnings trends, and economic expectations. That reading just about 1 month ago. We're going to get another read on U.S. small business optimism about 1 week from today, but we actually are going to get one in just about 5 seconds.
That's because our next guest is a member of that all-important engine of the U.S. economy. Very pleased to have back with us Christina Stembel. She's founder of Farmgirl Flowers. It's a business that if you're a listener or viewer of the program, you certainly know it well. It's also a business that she bootstrapped some 12 years ago and has built into a $30 million business. She's joining us here in the Bloomberg Interactive Brokers studio. Christina, welcome back to New York.
Thanks for having me. I love talking about business, the business of flowers.
Well, how is the business of flowers? How is your world right now?
Yeah, I mean, we're gearing up for Valentine's Day, which is always a lot of pressure. It's the second largest holiday of the year for us, so there's a lot of anticipation.
Remind us what percentage of your revenue comes from just Valentine's Day.
It's lower than you think. It's about 15%, but Mother's Day goes up to about 20%.
Okay, so
20,
that's
25.
35% of all of your revenue
Yes.
from 2 different days.
Yes, in 2 weeks, basically, of the year.
Are those the 2 biggest holidays?
Yes,
No
absolutely.
All right,
Absolutely.
so, okay, a favor, like back out the holiday stuff, because, right, there's expectations around that. But in general, when you look at the U.S. consumer, how have they been ordering just kind of on every other day or just normal days, if you will?
Normal days are down. I wish I had the optimism that the reports are showing right now.
Really?
And that, I think I'm optimistic about next year. So I think maybe that's where some of it's coming from. Like, after COVID, post-COVID, I think that there's been so much change constantly and where are we going to settle out? And I think the economy right now, we're in a gifting market, so the gifting holidays are especially important for us. We have to do really well in those gifting holidays because the everyday consumer isn't consuming as much. They aren't sending as many gifts since we're in the gifting space.
When did you notice this change?
2021. We've been going since 2021 on this. So, we were double the size.
So it's been declining since 2021?
Yes, we have, but intentionally. So we could still,
What does that mean intentionally?
Intentionally, we're focusing, I'm really excited to see the market change a bit from growth at all costs. All small businesses, startups, everything Bay Area was all about growth at all costs. Just have those top line revenue numbers grow exceedingly fast. And now we're focused on profitability. So, and I feel like everybody's kind of changed their ways a little bit since we're bootstrapped.
What is it? What is it that Zuckerberg says? The year of efficiency?
Yeah.
That was last year.
Yeah.
But it's carrying over.
It's bleeding into this, definitely. With layoffs, you see still happening, at a pretty rapid rate. People are, you have to be efficient. You have to run very efficiently to make any profit this year.
Remind us about your staffing and your supply chain. Give us an idea of what that picture is.
Our supply chain has changed 4 times since 2020. So we are constantly changing it to adapt with what the market demands are. And supply chain availability is. So 2020, we had a boom. We were over 60 million in 2020.
I sent flowers during the
yes,
pandemic to people.
Yeah.
We all probably did.
And people
what else were you going to do?
I know.
You couldn't.
Like, I baked my bread.
Baked bread, drank wine, and sent flowers.
Wine, sourdough, and flowers. It was
exactly.
That was the year, right? So I think, there was that, but supply chain was really hard. So then you have to shift and go closer to the flowers. We were buying a lot more in North America at that time. Now we still are buying more in North America, closer to home.
Was that because planes weren't coming?
Yes.
So
Yes.
they're not. These are not planes that are exclusively filled with flowers. These are planes that sometimes have people on them.
Yes.
And it's hard to ship this stuff if those planes aren't flying.
Absolutely. So unless you're going to charter a plane from Europe, when there weren't as many planes going in 2020, you would have to figure out other ways to get flowers, to you. So we were literally in box trucks picking up flowers that time, and then, things have shifted. Supply chain's gotten better, but everything's gotten more expensive. So then you're also, outbound transportation, went from about 26% of our revenue to 41%
That's
overnight.
when gas prices spiked.
Really just, I would, I guess, I don't know if I should say this, but I think it's also linked to stock prices for those companies in 2020. If you look at those for UPS,
well, go there because I've had conversations with some publicly held companies as well, and just talking about prices, like why are they still so high? And smart people scratching their head and just wondering whether folks are keeping prices high because they can.
I think that things have gotten more expensive. Labor is a lot more expensive. So, I know that personally with our company, so I can imagine at the transportation companies, it's the same.
Yeah.
When you're paying a lot more than you were a couple of years ago, where, wages have inflated much quicker than they did in previous, decades. So, that has to be reflected. And I think, American consumers have been taught by certain large companies that shipping should be free, but it's not free. And that's a good point. Good has to pass a lot of people's hands and a lot of trucks and a lot of planes and a lot of gas.
Especially if you're shipping something that's perishable.
Absolutely.
And that has to get to a destination within a certain amount of time, or else it's not going to look or smell as good.
Labor market, can you find all the workers you want?
No. I should say yes, but you pay more. You pay a lot more for the same job.
How much have wages gone up as a cost of doing business for you guys?
I would say about 30%.
Okay.
25 to 30%.
That's since 2020?
I think, it started in 2020 and it's continued to rise. I also think professional labor has gone up as well. It's not just wage level that's gone up in prices. Also, working from home, I think productivity is in question sometimes a little bit. It's harder. It's just not that, people aren't working. It's just really, it's not efficient. You have to have 6 meetings to get things done that would take 1 in person.
Is that what you're doing at Farmgirl Flowers? Are you
Yes.
hybrid? Are you remote?
We are remote mostly. I mean, in facilities, people are working, but remote for a professional level.
Okay.
How much?
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, while we're talking higher costs, how much of pricing or the pricing pressures you are feeling as a business owner, how much can you pass on to consumers? Or are you kind of swallowing a lot of it?
Both. So
Okay.
we have raised our prices in some things. Our core product offerings, we haven't raised those prices in 3 years. We're probably going to need to because our margins are just so tight. But American consumers also, they're hurting right now. When it's $8 for a dozen eggs, they can't spend as much. So it's also making sure you don't price yourself out of the market.
Egg prices have gone down.
Have they?
Yeah, egg prices have gone down.
Good.
Okay, don't
I
worry.
just paid
So-
$7.99, but
Oh, you got to shop somewhere else.
yeah, maybe the
Okay.
free range thing. I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Are you in the Bay Area?
I'm not. I'm in Washington State.
Okay, you're in Washington State.
Buy eggs that were in prison. Like that's what, I'm just kidding joke.
Come on,
I don't want the email that I'm going to get.
Okay.
No.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about, we were talking about your supply chain. Here, fast forward to 2024. Where are you getting your flowers now?
All over. North America, South America, Europe. Mostly, I would say I need to do an audit to see what the percentage is. I would say it's over 50% U.S., but slightly. So it's about half and half probably.
So you think just like we talk about this with everybody, this idea of kind of pushing back against globalization or just having kind of nearshoring, onshoring, it makes sense and probably will continue, do you think? Or
Yeah.
if all of a sudden it makes sense to buy outside, you will.
Absolutely. I mean, you can't get enough flowers in the U.S. of all the type varieties you need. So it's just there's a sourcing shortage of certain varieties. Also, gas prices, heating greenhouses in certain areas, especially, on the East Coast, the heated greenhouse is way more expensive than importing those flowers. And so the farmers know that and they just don't heat them through, certain months. And so you have to subsidize during certain times of the year.
Hey, real quick, you bootstrapped this company. You have funded it yourself, partly because a lot of VCs passed on this company.
Yeah.
What's the exit plan for you?
That's a good question. We should talk about that for a long time. I built it to sell. I don't know that that's the trajectory anymore for us, so we'll see. Building a long-term sustainable business, there's nothing wrong with that, though, and we don't talk about that.
Agreed.
It's not like the sexy, cool thing to talk about in all the magazines.
But I think that's because so many of these businesses are venture-backed and they have investors breathing down their necks saying,
Absolutely.
we need our return.
Absolutely. I actually feel like we're extremely fortunate right now to not have that happening. A lot of my friends that are CEOs that have that same story, they are being forced to show some growth numbers or at least a flat year. And our goal is a flat year this year with profit. But there's no path to profitability. Like overnight, they were like expected to make mom jeans into lowriders again.
Right.
You can't do that, right? And so they're like, growth at all costs, now profitability.
Well,
and we've always had to be profitable.
Was it the owner of Rome that we talked about that kind of
Yeah.
had investor money come in and then kind of the business got away and then he got back
Yeah,
much
Nate
more
Checkett's.
involved. Nate Checkett's more involved in it. So,
Yeah.
well, when or whatever the next stage
Or
is.
just come back.
Yeah.
The
Just
next
come
time
back.
you're in New York.
I mean, we might be a long-term business.
I
I might
think
be here for many, many
I
years.
think it's great, and I would
Thank
say
you.
your workers and your supply chain would appreciate that. No doubt about it.